Welcome to another episode of Mommy Mondays with Jen Pinto and Denisha Vargas. I hope all the mamas are doing well. I hope you're surviving parenthood. Man, this ain't no joke, parenthood. So today's topic, I'm really excited for because I think we need to talk about this way more than what we do. It seems as if the topic of sex in general is a very taboo topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about. And the one thing that I think is very common after you bring babies into the picture is sex. We don't want things to change, of course, right? But the truth of the matter is that things do change for whatever reason they may be. There's many, many different reasons. And we're going to talk about those today. So, what was your experience, Denisha?
Well, I remember after I gave birth, I was like, yeah, I'm not having sex again. Because how?
Right.
That was my initial thought. And then it was like, something about, you really loving that person and you guys like becoming one to like be there for the baby. You see this man becoming like he was already a father, so it's not like he became a father, but I was able to see that side of him that I didn't really witness that much.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started to get like all these little feelings and stuff. And then it was actually a little bit hard to wait my 40 days. Which was it, but it was like a 1 foot in and 1 foot out situation where I was like, yo, this is gonna be weird. And then it was like, yo, but I really want to. Like it was kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I do remember that I was like, oh my God, this is gonna hurt so bad. And it did a little bit, like it was a not as painful as I
Open
thought it
down
would be.
there.
What do you say?
It feels so like I don't know about you, but did it feel like your whole coochie was like super open? I
Yeah, like I thought that's what the feeling was gonna be like, like damn,
yeah, yeah, like that's what
baby.
you think in your head, because in your head, I don't know, I would be like, yo, why does my thing feel like it's just open?
Yeah, which it did in the beginning. Like that's how you feel, like it's just open, it is. So then, but to my surprise, like it wasn't. And it was actually like a very, because you have to relax too. That's another thing. Like once I relaxed, it was like so beautiful. It was wonderful again. And I was like, okay, I didn't lose anything. This is amazing.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that was my experience with that the first time. So it was like very, very weird because I was like, I don't know if I should I don't know. I had so many questions. Like,
I don't think I waited the 6 weeks for my first one either.
yeah, I don't think I waited
I
the
think I
40.
was probably like 4 weeks in when I had sex again.
Yeah, I think I want to say maybe 5 weeks. And I think it was like a few days to be my 40 days. And we were like, well, I mean, what's the difference?
Right, right.
A couple of days. How was your experience? Were those years like your thoughts were similar?
Very similar. Definitely didn't wait the 6 weeks, like I said. And I definitely enjoyed it. But I do feel like after the first kid, things just started to change. It got a little harder, like not even to to have sex. There's always a way, we know that. Um,
Yeah,
I think it just became after that. I think just my mental battle, like my body kind of shut down sexually.
really.
Hmm.
After your second pregnancy, you mean, or after the first time?
No, after it really started like more after like the second one. And I
Oh,
think that became just more of like insecurities within myself. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I don't feel like I was taking care of myself as far as how I was eating like the way I normally do, because it was just overwhelming. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
nursing and managing children and managing a business, you know what I mean? So I think all that stuff kind of I think what started to happen was the depression, I think, spiraled my libido out of control. That's what I feel like it felt like. Because when I did have sex, I very much enjoyed it. So it wasn't a thing of like I'm not attracted to this man
Yeah.
anymore, you know what I mean? Or like that connection isn't there. Like I will say, like, that's what made me confused, because I was like, I still desire him, but I don't have the sexual drive like I used to. Like, I don't think about it the way I used to. I don't feel as sexual within myself like I used to. And I think that played a part in it too. Like, did you still feel that? I don't know how to describe, like, just that sexual feeling about yourself?
Definitely not about myself right away. That came in after, because with Enzo, I lost the weight right away.
Mhm.
Which I didn't feel like it in the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My hips definitely got wider, which is like a thing that we consider good. So to me, like my body started feeling a lot more sexy again after like I want to say 9 months postpartum. But when I reflect back and I look back at the pictures of my body at 6 months, I was already looking good. You know? So I was like, damn, that's messed up that like I couldn't even enjoy myself like that because I was thinking outside of what I really was, you know? Like I wasn't feeling myself because of expectations that weren't even real or like mine or anything like that. When I reflected back, I was like, damn, I looked so nice. Like, why didn't I enjoy that as much? Especially that I was breastfeeding. Like, I'm not even a full A cup, and my breast went up to double D's. Like when I was pregnant
Wow.
with Enzo, when I was breastfeeding him, like I had to go buy bras, and like I didn't even believe the lady, and I bought sizes under, and then they didn't fit me. So it
What?
was like, oh my god, like this was also like I was very voluptuous in that way, and
Yeah,
I didn't
I
see
had
it.
titties. I always had to do so they just went ginormous afterwards.
I can imagine because if mine got big, that I wouldn't, well, they were non-existing at the moment.
Oh, shit's where my neck, like.
Yeah, which is interesting because having my boobs that big gave me such a wonderful, you know how like body images change with time. So like when I was growing up, everyone had boobs, and like boobs was a thing. Like nobody cared about ass, nobody cared about your stomach. They cared about boobs a lot. So I always thought like I always had that like that um um how do you say I just lose the word. Um but I was very self-conscious that my boobs were so small, that my body was so petite.
Yeah.
And I always thought to myself, like if I were to do anything, I would probably get some breast implants. That's what I would always say. So being
Yo,
pregnant
well,
and
why I was self-conscious of how big my boobs are, that I didn't want them that big. I wanted some, like, I wanted small boobs.
you see, it's all perspective, because
Sure, I did. I
I
was
feel
like,
like yeah, I feel like that's the curly hair, straight hair
yeah,
argument also. Like the ones that have straight hair want the curly hair, and the ones that have curly hair want the straight hair.
yeah, like that's it's crazy how you just are so hard on yourself, you know? And I think that's
Yeah, but
what.
I definitely remember after that, like after having those boobs, I was like, oh my God, thank God. Like the clothes didn't fit me right. It was just weird. I didn't know what to do with them. Like they would hit my arms and it was just weird. And I was like, yo, imagine I would have ever gone through with this. I would have like body dysphoria for so long.
Yeah. No, it became, yeah, I think a lot of everything with the sex, because we're both very sexually attracted to each other, you know what I mean? And that never stopped on his part, I will say. Like it's not like he ever was, those, how some women are like, oh, my man doesn't, I don't think my man wants me, he doesn't touch me. Like I can't say I
Mm.
ever had that problem. So it wasn't like he was not showing me that. Like, he was very much still affectionate, very much. I felt so insecure though, that it's like
Yeah.
I couldn't like let go and be myself again. Because at that point, I felt like after the second one, I was just kind of losing myself into like the whole depression and what I was going through with postpartum, that like I was so lost on what I was going through that I felt like I was in a survival mode more for my life, that sex didn't really like, not that it didn't matter, but it wasn't on my mind like that.
It wasn't like a priority.
It was, yeah. And it's like, it's supposed to be, you know what I mean? And not that that's the foundation of any relationship, but it's a very important part in your relationship. And it was something that we never had an issue with. And then it just became different, you know? And it's like, I was like, again, I was like super confused. I was like, yo, I don't get it, because it's not like I don't want him, but why don't I ever like, before I would be the one to be like initiating it or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
just, I was just completely like lost um in this whole dark world inside of me. And what ended up happening, I think because remember I talked about in the postpartum episode that there was a long time I was quiet about certain things that I was suffering from. And within that, that's all within like your throat, you know what I mean? Like your
Yeah.
expression, right? So you think about like your throat chakra, right? And
Yeah.
I'm very big on like, it's more than just foods, that can destroy your body. Like, obviously, we know our thoughts and all these things, and not having control of your emotions to a certain degree can affect your body, like with illnesses.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
so sometime it was I want to say last year, was it? Yeah, last year. It was last year because it's 2022, 2021. Yeah. It was last year. This was around, I want to say the ending of last year, maybe into the beginning of this year. I did a workup on myself, and I did like a bioscan thing. And I ended up finding out that my thyroid, I had issues with my thyroid. I never had issues with my thyroid before.
Wow.
And when I looked into it, everything made sense. My hair was thinning. That was a sign of it. My hands would get shaky. I don't know if you remember when I talked about in the postpartum, my hands would get shaky without like I couldn't control it. That's part of that. Your libido goes down.
Wow.
Like all these things. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, wait a minute. Like, so it was like, I do feel that came, aside from, not eating all the way I should be eating, you know what I mean? Like my body, because of my autoimmune, like I'm not supposed to have certain things, like, and it's simple things like gluten, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that type of stuff, like a lot of starch is not good for me. Just certain things that would normally be okay for certain people. Like I wasn't aware, like if you have a thyroid disorder, you should stay away from strawberries. There's something in the strawberries that just kind of makes it worse. So it can be like healthy things that just when you have certain things, it may not work the way it's supposed to.
Wow. That's
So
so.
I was big on strawberries. So not knowing that, like I was still consuming certain things that I thought was okay, but at the time it wasn't going to be okay for me. So what was crazy was I stopped nursing like mid 2021 it was, and I did a full body cleanse because I hadn't done a cleanse in like so long, because I was pregnant nursing. So the first time I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm not pregnant, I'm not nursing no more, I'm done. I did a parasite cleanse, and I felt a lot flush out of my body, like no lie. And it's like more than just waste. I just felt like energetically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when I found out about the stuff with the thyroid, it all started to make sense, because then it felt like, okay, so I wasn't bugging in the fact that I kept saying I still desire him. So what's wrong here? And it makes sense when you think about it. There was like a chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
So you mix depression, you mix thyroid, all these things, a disorder, you're gonna have somebody that's not gonna be as active as they were sexually. This job, as active as they were sexually. So like just allowed me to put things in better perspective. So now I was able to do things to take care of myself better. So now my thyroid levels are all pretty much back to normal. I think I have like one level. I'm like, I just got to get one level down, but everything the way it was before was not like that anymore. So whatever work I was able to do to basically heal myself from that, I feel like has been helping now in me just having more clarity within myself, you know. And then it's like going through the experience of the mushrooms, and then knowing what health issue was affecting me, so then I know certain things I have to stay away from, so changing my diet even more, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like all these things have helped like just getting me back into myself when it comes to just sexually and how I feel about myself, things like that, you know. So it's so many different reasons why things can change for certain couples, you know. Like mine, it wasn't like, a lot of times people have a baby and then afterwards they're just not attracted to each other, you know what I mean? Like for whatever reason that is lost. And because I knew that wasn't the case with mine, I was so like, yo, what the hell is going on? And that could be a lot of women going through that.
Yeah. You know, now that you mentioned your thyroid issue, which I didn't know about, um, I also literally exactly a week after Enzo's birth, a whole side of my face was paralyzed.
Wow. Oh, I think I remember you telling me. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in the hospital they said it was Bell's palsy, but it was very, like, it shut my confidence down so bad.
Mm.
So bad. Now I remember now that that had a lot to do um with the way that I was feeling actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very, very hard because like one eye wouldn't blink. So it was like getting dry and irritated.
Wow.
I couldn't drink out of a cup properly. Like it had to be out the side of my mouth, and that made me feel weird. Um,
Wow.
like my house is like the center of traffic for our family. Like a lot of people visit us all the time. So imagine me having my first baby. There was people in my house all the time.
Right.
And that was just, you know, I was putting a front because I've always been super confident, even when I didn't feel like it. But me forcing myself to be like that actually made me, like, forced me into loving myself, where I was actually very confident in myself. And I loved the way that I looked. Like I really loved myself, you know? And I remember trying to fake it so much, but sometimes I would just hide in my room and pray that like nobody even came over, because I was like, yo, I don't even want people to see me like this.
Oh my God.
And I would try to just be very like, oh, I don't care. But it was so annoying to me. Like even the way that I spoke changed a little bit. Um,
Mm.
and like, you know, full transparency, kissing was super hard. Like I wanted to cry every time that like we were gonna kiss, because I'm like, oh my God, this is so crazy. Like, why can't I just be normal again? You know, that's what I just kept telling myself. And that
Did,
was actually, what do you say?
did they ever like, did they say where it came from, that the Bell's palsy, real quick? Or was it that?
I mean, in my opinion, you know, you come into awareness of a lot of different things after.
Mm-hmm.
And I had blocked off the thoughts of like my pregnancy of my birth. I had because I tried to advocate for myself, like I really did. There were certain things that I was fighting against. I declined all medication, so I didn't take, after the birth, like I did the epidural because I was in labor for literally like, I went to the hospital on the 16th and Enzo was born on the 18th. So I was in the hospital awake the whole time, like not even in labor, but I was exhausted. So at 5 centimeters, my mom, which I remember, I wanted to just try, but everybody insisted that I was gonna be so exhausted that I needed the epidural. So I caved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And So I didn't even want to confront like my actual birth, right? So when I started to reflect back and break down like everything that happened and try to remember everything, I remember they gave me antibiotics. I remember they gave me um some shot for something. Um and I believe in my heart, you know, I don't have any proof for this. I don't have any way of like, because when I walked into the hospital, the lady literally looked at me and was like, started laughing. I was like, you have Bell's palsy, like, don't worry. Because I honestly was scared that something neurological was happening with me. Because when I called,
Right. Yeah. Who would it be?
yeah, I had a 24-hour like nurse service. And when I called, they were like, oh no, you need to like call an ambulance. Like, don't even drive or like cab it to the hospital. And I was like, what the heck? So I was really scared. Um
Oh.
and I was actually very, very, very much in fear. Very, very much. Because my son, like I had to leave Enzo one day in the hospital. And that really like broke me down for real, for real. Like I didn't even want to go home. I was like, I didn't sleep. I was crying because I would see the crib and he wasn't there. Like it was just so, I didn't get what was going on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally was able, especially through like breath work, I was able to clear out and like kind of relive a lot of the things that happened to me. And I feel that all those like antibiotics and that shot that they gave me, which till this day I have no idea what it is, because I was literally in active, like I think in labor when they gave it to me. Like it wasn't, I don't even know what it was. And as a doula, I still don't know what it was.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy. So when she looked at me and told me that, then I looked it up by myself and I read that it was just like an inflamed nerve on my face. And that's why it stopped the movement. But, and they say it was because of my labor, which it was, I spent 2 hours just pushing alone.
Wow.
So I did believe it in the moment. And that's what I would say to everyone. Like, oh yeah, I just have an inflamed vein. Like my birth was like a little traumatic, I guess. But in reality, when I reflected back and I got like basically my own intuition telling me, like, no, it wasn't that. I honestly believe that it was some type of medication that they gave me that put my body into shock. Like I'm the type of person that I never, ever, ever get sick. I don't get sick.
Mm-hmm.
I got sick maybe twice in my life that I could remember. And I don't take any type of medication at all. I don't take Advil, I don't take Motrin, I don't take Tylenol, I don't take anything ever. So I feel like going into that hospital setting completely shocked my body.
Yeah. Definitely.
So
I could.
I was
I can
super
definitely.
self-conscious about my face and like how I was feeling. Like I didn't feel sexy. I wanted the lights off because I didn't want to like look or like how it was just so weird. And God bless my husband because he was so amazing throughout the whole process. And he was the one that just honestly made me feel like the queen that I am. You know, he gave me my place and told me like, hey, you are beautiful. This doesn't change anything. And he just made me feel like nothing was wrong. So I think that his support in that sense made me not care what anybody else thought. I was like, listen, the person that matters doesn't care, so fuck
Right.
you.
Oh yeah. I did feel though, I will say like um there were certain times that I didn't desire it, but not that I didn't desire him per se. It was more of just like the exhaustion of the day, like working all day, nursing all day, and then getting at night, and then your husband wants to touch you, and you'd be like, yo, I just had a baby on me all day. I don't want nobody touching me at all. I don't want my boobs touched. I don't want nothing. I just don't want to be touched. I just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
Because I know it, like at any point I'm gonna then have to wake up again to nurse the baby. So it's like I go from like I just felt like a milk shop, you know what I mean? Like I was just
Yeah.
like I don't know. It just feels like at times like you're just being passed around, you know? like oh, I gotta give myself to the baby, then I gotta give myself to him, and now like I do feel that at times though I did feel like I'm just not in the mood for anything. Not that I don't love you, not that I don't want you, but I'm just fucking tapped out from the day because nursing is a lot and it can be very, very draining. like physically and mentally. Like I remember in the beginning, especially when they're doing like cluster feeding and they're feeding literally all day on you,
Mm.
back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then, you know, just in general, like just the whole newborn stages and all that. Like I do feel like in the beginning it was a little adjustment for me because I was like, oh my God, like I'm giving my body to this baby like all day. And then at night I'm just like kind of tapped out for my husband and I would feel bad about that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like afterwards it was more of just like, you know, after, you know, those phases of the baby stages, because they change, you know what I mean? As they get older, they get more independent, then, you know, you kind of have more of a schedule with your nursing, you know, like, you know how it is. But yeah, I think after that, it just became just issues with my health, mentally and physically, you know, going through it, that a lot of my normal sexual drives and all that were affected by that. And I think sometimes we just assume because it's like, okay, we know that when you have a baby, obviously you can't do the things you used to do. You know, there's children, especially when they get older, it gets even worse because they can open doors. Oh my God, they'll be knocking on your door. Mad times, you know, you're like, get out, and things of that nature. But sometimes I think that I can see a lot of women probably having issues of certain health things that the doctors probably never even, you know what I mean, like looked into, you know, like a woman comes in and they just say like, oh, you know, sex is not the same with my husband after children. They're like, yeah, that happens, you know, it's harder with children, but they don't get to the root of the problem. And I always think that there's a root to everything
Yeah.
unless you're literally like, yo, I do not like this man anymore. Like,
Mhm.
like I don't want him touching me. I don't like him. Like, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But if you still have that love for this person and you just don't feel like yourself, I think every woman should definitely look into a deeper level of what's happening maybe inside chemically that may be off a little bit. I noticed that there's so many different things. Like when I was looking into it, there's so many different herbs and different things that you can take to combat these kind of things and to get your libido up. But you have to know what things are wrong with you. You know what I mean? Like what certain vitamins or certain things you know you're lacking that there's a low level of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe when you take a certain vitamin, that'll up that and that'll start making you feel again the way you're supposed to feel. So I started looking into all those things. I started looking into essential oils. I started looking into herbs. I started looking into all these different things that can help what, you know, and then obviously I found the root, which was to me the thyroid and the depression, all these things. And as you guys know, I did, you know, what I had to do health wise, food wise, and then I did what I had to do mentally also. Like there's work to be done. Like people understand that. Like
Yeah.
it's not just like, oh, this is what's supposed to happen. No, like the same way I be telling y'all, like, yo, there's supposed to be a joy in everything that we experience here. There's a joy within it. Whether we don't see it, there's still a joy within it. And I think that, you know, after you have a child with somebody, you even get more if you still, you know, if you guys have a healthy relationship, you fall more in love with this person. Like you said, watching him as a dad, you know, it's a whole nother attraction that you gain for this person. It's a whole nother love you have for this person because now you guys are sharing a life together. Like you guys have sealed your lifetime experience together, right? Because you guys have this child. So there should be where um that you know it's not obviously can be the same because you have a baby to take care of a lot, you know what I mean? But as things ease up, I think there's different ways that people can get back into that as long as they know the root of where it's coming from. Maybe it was just a phase in the beginning some women have, you know what I mean, because of the
Yeah.
just the whole, you know, like change and pressure of everything from both parents. You know, like you said, you guys are both just focusing on this baby and sometimes you guys can forget about yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
that's normal, that's fixable. But if you feel yourself like I felt like it just kept like you just know in your gut when something's not right within yourself.
For
Like you
sure.
just know yourself, you know?
Yeah. I honestly didn't have, like, I never say no. So even through the exhaustion, I would still, do, but I also, it was very different because I know you were home alone with your husband and the kids, right?
Mhm.
I was in my mother's house. So I had a lot of help throughout the day. And of course, as much help as you have, it's never enough because it's so much work. Like you still carry the responsibility and you still have to do most of the things, right? But I
Yeah.
had support, like someone providing me with meals. I had my mom there. My neighbors are my family, literally, like my family members. So
Yeah.
because of that, like I had that support. And even though I was exhausted at night, it kind of, it always gave me like something I needed.
Yeah, that's
I don't know,
so
you
dope.
know?
You know what? I love that you're saying that because it goes to show you um how important this village is. Because different experiences can bring out a different quote unquote experience. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to that. And you're absolutely right, because I feel like we always talk about that. Like right now, my mother-in-law is here, and it is incredible to have the help here.
Yeah.
And I, I feel just so light since she's been here. You know what I mean? And imagine when you give birth and all that, just to have family, to have a mother. Like I didn't have any of that. And that's something I think that we all need.
Mhm.
And then it allows you to then have the moment when it's just you and your partner. You guys can have that escape,
Yeah.
like that's
And
so
that, and I do think that that influenced like a lot because it's also your mind. Like because I had like a meal, when your mind as a woman is preoccupied with all the things that you have to do, and this is sometimes difficult for men to understand. Like sometimes they want to be spontaneous and just pop up like and be like, "Oh, I want you right now." But it's like once your mind is occupied in something, or maybe I don't know, and maybe it's a personality trait of mine or something that I just think all women are like this. But I was like, yo, when I have my mindset that I'm gonna do the laundry, that's all I could think of, even if I have to
yeah,
use
I'm the
the
same way though.
wig. Okay, so maybe it's not just me.
Nah, yeah, I am
So
like
it's yeah, it's really hard to shift from like, oh, I have a mental list on my head. Like, I gotta do the laundry. Right after I do the laundry, I gotta come upstairs and at least put like season my salad or something. And then once I do that, like come out and make sure that I pick up the toys because if I don't do it, then by the time we gotta leave the house, it's not gonna be done. And then when I get home, like it's gonna, and that's literally my mind. And
yeah.
then sometimes the men just want to be spontaneous and it's like, bro, I can't do both. I can't be sexy and a hot, like
No.
like I can't like maintain my mental list if you distract me. Like you're gonna make me
Oh,
forget the things that I need to do.
yo, I definitely would feel the same exact way. My other insecurity was the fact that I have urine inconsistency because of my all three of my babies, like, and it's bad. Like if I laugh too hard, I'm peeing on myself. If I jump, I'm peeing on myself. Like if I do a fucking squat and I strain too hard, I'm peeing on myself. If I yell, I pee. Like I can pee on myself by just a yell.
That's so funny.
Like if my children piss me off and I'm like, yo, stop, like, you know what I mean? That can, like, that pressure of that will cause me to twinkle on myself. Like that's how bad it is. Like sometimes even just trying to carry my child. So imagine that, like every second you're fucking changing your underwears. You do not feel sexy, yo.
Yeah,
Like
that's the
you're
thing.
every second cleaning yourself. I'm like, I feel like I smell like piss. I feel like this, like that. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of that played a part, like in the insecurities as well with that. Especially like he's so used to like just touching me out of nowhere, but one scare, I'm gonna pee myself. So you go and grab my ass out of nowhere, and I don't know you coming. I'm
Damn.
gonna twinkle, and I'm gonna be pissed now. Like, damn it!
Yo, that's crazy. Like to have to like that's so difficult the things we go through after birth. And again, like when you go to this little doctor's appointment you go to, they don't tell you nothing. They don't say like, oh, they don't even really they literally just stick their fingers up there and check you and then that's it. You can go home.
Yeah, it's like, yo, nobody talks about these things. Like things change, you know what I mean? And not it could be, and when I say change, remember, I'm not saying bad or good. I'm just saying change.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is that there is a whole other human that you two are responsible for, that you know what I mean, that you have to watch out for. Like nothing will ever be the same after that. And then when you have multiple children, it does, you know what I mean, like it's going to change even more, it's going to change even more. Like that's how it is. And you have to find your groove in that, but it's like things are going to change, and if things are not changing for the good, I think, the best thing to do is always to get to the source of the problem. Like, where is it coming from? You know what I mean? On either parties. It doesn't have to be the woman. I hear sometimes where men basically feel a certain way because it's always only about the baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so they probably feel uncomfortable now. You know what I mean? Like trying to touch you or do things, like who knows, like men go through their shit too, like it's not just us. There is a shift when you become a parent. And I think if a lot of our parents and we would have kept this ancestral way of knowledge, of knowing when it comes about this experience, about pregnancy, about birth, about what happens to the relationship after you have children, what happens to men afterwards, what happens to women afterwards, what happens to sex afterwards, like what happens to your body, like when is a woman at her peak, when is a man at their peak, like as you're growing together in this lifetime experience with this child, like there's different phases that are going to come out within the age as you're growing
Yeah.
into yourself, and sex plays a part in that, as far as in how things can change. Men and women, I think, have different peaks.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't peak at the same time, and that can get really tricky.
Right, yes, that can get really, really tricky. And it's like, if we just had more knowledge, then we can combat it by doing other things. You get what I'm saying? Like taking more control. So this way we don't have to experience it the way we're experiencing it, and making it harder than what it should be.
Yeah. And I also remember being a lot more scared because if my first birth was traumatic, the second one was even worse.
Whew.
Wait, I had twins and I had something called a combined delivery. I was
Mm.
trying to advocate for myself so much to having this natural birth that I basically got conned into having a natural birth and a C-section. And not conned, like they knew exactly what they were doing, but I didn't see the plan unfold. You know what I mean? I thought it was just protocol. But like when I was about to go into like blown labor, like I was ready to push, um, I had taken the contractions completely alone and fine. Like when I got to the hospital, I was already like 2 to 3 centimeters dilated naturally on my own. Um, and so once it was time to push, I wanted to just push. But these people were like, if you, um, if something goes wrong with the second baby on the way down, we're gonna have to put you fully to sleep if you don't get an epidural.
Oh wow.
So I figured if I'm going to have these babies and there is an issue, I definitely don't want to go under like fully. I would rather have the epidural where, you know, they can I can witness everything. I can see what they're doing to my babies. And I just want to say thank God for that because at the end of the day what they did to me was like I birthed the first baby like nothing. It was fine. It was like I didn't push not even for 5 minutes. Like I was even surprised when they told me the baby got out.
Mm.
um they obviously whisked her away. I didn't get no like physical touch or nothing like that, which at that time I didn't know, you know. I knew it with my son, but because these were twins, I figured they need to check them and all this stuff, the ignorance, you know?
Mhm.
And then the second baby, which I remember I had requested a doctor for breech deliveries, and that doctor, like literally an hour before I went into active labor, her shift was done and she was gone.
Oh.
So yeah, so then this doctor obviously wasn't equipped for breech deliveries. And I had already said that I would like to try, even if it was a breech position of the baby. And so her quote unquote try was trying to turn the baby. So she inserted her whole arm inside my body and tried to turn the baby. While she's trying to turn the baby, I hear them like literally prepping me for surgery. And I just kept saying no, no, no,
Mm.
right? They did it anyways. They just basically just did it. They completely violated me. But my point is that right after that, they send my husband out of the OR because it's basically an operating room. They send my husband out and they leave me alone with and the two babies in their little incubators, right?
Mhm.
Alone. So I'm like, why did you send my husband out? And obviously this is all for um legal purposes that they do that. It's not even for anybody's safety. It's because they don't want to get caught messing up or anything like that. And I remember them having a full-blown conversation over my body, talking about, oh, we don't know where it's coming from. So I was getting so mad because I was like, first of all, go take my daughters to my husband and my sister that are there. Those are two sets of hands that can hold my babies. They need to be feeling someone, they need to be
Right.
touched, they need to be feeling something. And since you're dealing with me here, you can't do that to me. So do something with them. So I made them take the babies over. And I remember I didn't say anything until like 45 minutes, right? And I could just hear them talking, like, oh, we don't know, we don't know. So I was like, what is taking so long? Like, I had a clock, like, I could tell the time. So
Mhm.
I asked, like, what are you guys doing and why? Like, are you aware that I'm right here? Can you let me know what you're doing to my body? And they were like, oh, we're so sorry. We just, we can't find where the bleeding is coming from.
Ah.
And I was like, bleeding where? Like I thought it was inside of me. So I panicked. You know, like I didn't show that I was panicking, but in my head, I was like, what the fuck are these people doing? Like, what is going on? Um, and then she's like, no, your vaginal wall has a lot of like cuts and scrapes. So basically, when she inserted her hand into me without my permission, she had cut up my whole vaginal wall in like different places. And so she told me like, oh, it's not enough for us to stitch it, so we cannot stop the bleeding. So I will never forget the moment when I was like, so how are you going to, like, what are you gonna do? And she was like, well, you know how like when you get scraped on the cement, like what do you do? And I was like, you apply pressure? I was like, what do you? And I was like, oh my God. I remember thinking in my head, they're going to stuff me like a turkey. And that's exactly what they did. Do you want to know what they used to stuff me? Gauze. Gauze. The material of that, I don't know if you know, but it's it's crazy in such a sensitive area like that. Like obviously I was completely numb when they did it, but when they took that out, it was worse than birthing the baby. It was worse.
Wow.
And I remember that was one of the scariest things was me thinking of like, how will I ever feel like normal down there after something like that?
Yeah.
And so I was much more scared to have sex the second pregnancy than the first. Um,
Oh yeah.
but of course, our bodies are just a well-oiled machine. They work perfectly. And thank God my body was able to heal very, very well. But it was like very tricky. Like I was so scared. And I remember times where I was like, yo, I wouldn't even want to go to sleep because I'm like, yo, I know that he's going to want to, but like I don't, like I told you, like I just don't say no. So it was like, is this gonna be the first time that like I say no? But once I got through it, we very, very slow and very like much at my own pace. I was able to kind of gain, the confidence again, and I was very much comfortable. Thank God. Like I said, my husband is amazing. And I was able to get through that. But I was just like, oh my goodness,
That's
really, really in panic.
hell yeah. You know what, too? I do think too that um after the third one, um I I was scared to have sex because I was like, I cannot get pregnant again because I got pregnant. The first one was completely, not that the others weren't planned, but not at the time that we had them because we were not, but it happens, right? It is what it
Yeah.
is. So they came so close together. So within a 5-year time span, I had 3 children. And I was like, I need a break. Like, I cannot go because every time it's like I with the first one, Tristan was a year and a half, and I got pregnant with Kaylani. And then with Celeste, Kaylani was 9 months, and then I got pregnant with the third one, Celeste. So
Wow.
I was like, yo, I cannot get pregnant again right now. Like,
For myself,
and
for my
then
mental status.
yeah, it's like not right now, yo, chill. Like, and then, I'm not a person that uses birth control. So it gets really tricky here. Like, birth control destroyed my body, and we'll have an episode on that. But birth control is something that doesn't do me well. I've had many, many health complications because of it. So I don't take it. So it's been just kind of me monitoring and getting to know my cycle and knowing like the days that I'm more at risk than the other days. And I try to just kind of go by that model now because first I was just scared, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, nah, we can't do it the way we used to because that's too many chances we're putting out there, for shit to like the pull out method not to work type of shit. So because of that, that was a little tricky after the third one. But I think getting to know my cycle more, getting to know your body more, you're able to navigate through, not wanting to have a baby again. Anything can happen, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, you're just kind of more aware of how your body works. So you know that, because I think people have this confusion that you can get pregnant like every single day, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
Like, there's a certain part, Celeste, mamas. No, come here, mamas. There's a certain part where it can happen, you know what I mean? But it's not every single day.
Mhm.
So because of that, like, we actually have more chances to not if we do it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
A
that's
75% part
yeah,
of the month where you don't, and then there's a 25% where it's really risky.
exactly. So that's kind of where I've been at because I'm not using no birth control, I tell you that.
Yeah. Can we also mention how awkward it is with, at least for me, it was super awkward with like the breast situation and breastfeeding. Like,
Yeah, yes, it does get really weird.
because
Like,
it's like I'm very much, that area is very like part of everything for me, like it's
me
an area that
too.
needs to be stimulated. But when I was breastfeeding, I was like, boy, you better not, because it feels weird.
Yeah, because when you have it with your children, you don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, there's no sexual feeling with it. So it's like, but when your mate and your partner is like, yeah, that's one of my like top arousal spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it just became like hard to separate the two.
Yes. And it's like there actually, for me, it was just like this area is non-existing for the moment.
Right. Like yeah.
No, it was like I was leaking milk all the time. Like they would hurt sometimes. Sometimes I was getting like a clogged duct, and it was like,
Yep.
oh my God, my boob is swollen. Like I can't even lay on it or anything. So it was like really pretty much non-existing for the time until like I stopped breastfeeding. And then it was like, okay, welcome back.
Yeah, no, yeah. I will say though, breastfeeding made me a little self-conscious with my boob area because some things are so deflated. And I used to have some pretty damn boobs, I will
Yeah,
say.
mine were so perky.
Mine too. Mine was so perky. These things are just droopy. They look sad.
You know, also something that happened to me when I started breastfeeding Enzo, like I would pump a lot because Enzo was a beast. He was drinking like like 6 ounces of milk like in a month, like his first month.
Mm.
And he would then went to like almost 9 ounces. Like I was like, yo, is there a limit? Because he keeps going up every month. It's like another ounce, and I'm like, bro, you gotta slow down. So it was like um the like when you would put the breast pump like and you would press your boob to get like the milk ducts out, like to get them unclogged. I had a lot, and I would like press the top area, and what that caused was like that. And I to me it was because I was doing that, like extra pressing my boob area from the top down, to
Mm.
because I was getting so much milk that even my armpits, my milk ducts went all the way up to my armpits, and that was swollen.
What?
Yes. So I had to press down literally from like my armpit area down to like my breast to get a lot of the milk out and make sure that like no milk was getting like stuck there. Cause like my armpit area would get swollen literally from the milk. And
Wow.
so doing that, I realized that pressing my boob down like that gave it more of like the saggy feeling, right? So what I did for my second pregnancy, because there was a phase for Enzo where I strictly pumped, because he took a piece of my nipple out by accident, like when he was breastfeeding. And after that, I was like, nah, we're not doing this anymore. So I strictly pumped, right? But that was exhausting, by the way.
It
So
is.
for any moms out there, I believe that the balance between the two is the best thing. Like putting
Yep.
your baby on your boob when you're out, and then when the baby's napping, pumping extra milk so you can go out sometimes was like
Yep.
the best thing. So when I had the twins, that's what I would do, especially that I was breastfeeding both of them. It was like it wasn't even that I thought of it that way. It was just that that's what worked the best because they would usually both be on the boob. So when they would nap, I would try to pump extra to kind of stimulate to get more milk. So I
Yeah.
remember putting a lot of like oils on my boob that were skin tightening and stuff like that. And then I wouldn't press it down when I pumped. I would just like kind of hunch a little, as comfortable as I could without like messing up my posture, but I would try to hunch a little bit to kind of give it like the gravity to help the milk flow down. And that helped a lot. So even though I don't want to say my boobs are like super saggy, because they're not, they're some people will still consider mine like, my aunt like looked at my boobs and was like, yo, your boobs look bigger, but I know they're the same size, but they look bigger. So it's not even a full A, but because they droop a little, it kind of makes the boob like peak.
Yeah.
So it kind of like I was like, I made it work. I was like, all right, this is good. Let me go a little bigger. We good. Kind of learn to love the new ones. Cause I was really, I loved my body. It took me a long time to really like truly love myself. So when I went through these pregnancies, it was hard to get back to that because now my body's different. You
Yeah.
know, it's not the same. I was like, if your body stayed the same, then it's like, okay, I've always loved this body. Eventually I'll get back to that. But with the body changing so much, you learn to love no matter what the outcome of your body is.
Absolutely.
And that gets really tricky. But that helps your sex life also, because if you don't feel sexy yourself, it's really hard to get into the mood.
Yeah, like just know it's normal for things to get different, for things to either maybe go up sexually, for things to go down sexually, you know what I mean? But like I said before, if that's somebody you love and that's somebody you rocking with, and it's just the changes are a little bit of a shock to both parties, find your way back. There's always a way back. There's always, like I said, a route to everything. Um, because if you've always had it before, and just kind of the shock of, just like I said, parenthood and being responsible for a whole human being is a lot on me, you know, on the men and women.
Yeah.
So just find a way with your partner to just not forget about you guys, you know?
Yeah.
Like, don't forget about you guys. I'm guilty of it, you know, we all are. You
Yeah.
know, but I am aware, and I do make sure that I find my ways to just get us back to where, you know what I mean? Like, get us back into ourselves, you know?
Yes.
Very, very, very important. But thank you everyone for joining us. If you guys have any questions, let us know. Make sure to tell a friend to check out the podcast, check out all our episodes. Yay for us, because this is, I believe, I think, ninth episode.
Hey.
Yeah, this is our ninth
Already? Oh my
episode.
God.
Right? Okay. We're almost at 10. Okay. I hope everyone that is tuning in is enjoying. We got some great guests coming up on the next episodes coming up. And we got some awesome topics that we're going to discuss. You know how we do. We keep it raw and uncut over here. I hope you all have a beautiful Monday. Hope you had a beautiful Monday. Thanks for tuning into Mommy Mondays, and we will catch you next Monday. Peace.